Greetings. In this video, I'm going to prepare a CAD drawing for Illustrator and then introduce you to Illustrator. The part in CAD is really quite simple. This is the drawing I left off working on, and it is a DWG drawing, and all we have to do here is save it as a DXF drawing. So we have to change the file type actually. And I'm going to save it all the way back to 2000. There's some compatibility issues with later files. So I'm going to go all the way back here to AutoCAD 2000 DXF. And I'll just keep that same name. And that is that. And then all I want to do is remove any extraneous pieces that would not be showing up in the final drawing. I'll leave the drawing tag, and I'm going to leave my name as well. Okay, so that is the beginning. That is really all that we need to do in CAD, and then we will take this over to Illustrator. Okay, now I have opened up Illustrator, and just to circle back to the CAD for a second. So creating that DXF file, so that's the format that goes into Illustrator. So I saved it as the DXF file first, then I erased everything that I didn't want showing up in Illustrator. So that DXF file is only the presentation portion of, I should say I've retained only what's going into the presentation. So the original DWG file still exists. That has all of my drawings, whatever other pieces I erased. So that is maintained, and the DXF file is only for what's going into Illustrator. Okay, so now I'm going to come to File Open. I am on my desktop, and here is my DXF file. So I will open that up. I am going to go to Scale to Fit Artboard. So whatever size the artboard is, it will scale my drawing to it, and we're going to adjust that afterwards. And I did click to scale the line weights. Okay, here it is. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. So you could see all of the colors came as they are. And you'll see that as I select these lines, they are individual. They're individual lines, just like they were in CAD. And this is really the brilliance of Illustrator, is that it is what you call a vector-based program. So this file is being saved in the same fashion an AutoCAD file is saved, where every line is individual, which is good, but even better is that every line could be scaled anywhere from from the size of a postcard all the way up to the size of a billboard. It is not at all limited the way raster images are in Photoshop. So a raster image in Photoshop, if I open this up in Photoshop, all these lines would be translated to pixels, and they have a limited size. You could only stretch them so far until they fall apart, and that's not the case with Illustrator. So that is why it is really a great program. So first thing we always do is save as, and it will be saved as an AI document in Adobe Illustrator. So we can go into PDFs. We're going to save it right here as an AI document. And I will hit save. And this is all fine as is. And okay. So now we have an AI document. So that is an Illustrator type document. Okay. Then we'll come up here to File, Document Setup, which is the same with all our Adobe programs, and we have to make a couple of adjustments here. So the unit is by default in points. In Photoshop, we know it's often, or in InDesign that is, it's often saved as picas. We want inches. That's where we're most comfortable. And then everything else here is fine. And then we want to jump into Edit Artboards, which is where we find the size. And here in the properties now, we could see that it's letter. And let's go back to 11 by 17 and keep that. Okay. All right, very good. So this is what it looks like now, and the one piece that I forgot was to change the orientation of the page. I'm going to go back one more time. And you can see right now my properties box is just generally populated. It is not specific to the function of editing the document. So I come back to document setup, and now I jump back into edit artboards, and now you can see this properties box has changed, and now I could jump into landscape portion there. And then I will hit enter, and that all looks good. And I will say okay. And then I'll just come up here to select my my selection tool, and that just kind of gets me off of that. So this looks good. I'm just going to Control 0 to see the whole page. So my text got off my page for some reason, and I think the justification changed as well. It's left justified now. So the first thing I want to do is get this thing to fit the whole board. So I'm going to select, so I could do a large right crossing window, and I could also do small windows if I just want to select a few pieces, or of course I could just pinpoint and kind of select like that. So I'm just going to select the whole bunch, and then I can pick the whole piece up, move it up to the top right. I could come down to the anchor and begin to pull, and as you could see, it allows me to change the ratio, the proportions of this, which I do not want to do. So now I'm going to hold shift and expand it until it looks like it is similar to our CAD drawing. Okay, very good. The next thing I want to do is jump into the color here, into the text, or into the line colors. So I'm going to again select everybody, and I'm going to and now these have gone into gray because there are a variety of different colors, and I'm going to click on the stroke, which is the box that has the empty inside, as opposed to the fill, which is the solid. And I'll come here and I will just hit black and close that, and that should do it. And everybody has moved, all the line weight has turned, all the lines have turned black. And it looks good. It looks just like I did in CAD. My line weights have been maintained. This text is a little clunky and big now, but we could return to that. Okay, so now we've got it set up and it looks good. Okay, a few other things to take care of here. So the setup, the interface of Illustrator is a lot like Photoshop in InDesign. That's really nice about Adobe. They keep it very, very consistent. So when we come here to view, we could find our rulers, which we want to show. Here they are. So we could confirm that we have 17 by 11 there. So that's good. In the same place, we could also show a grid. If we're composing maybe a more complex page than this, we could show grids, which could be nice. I'll keep that on, sure. And then the other thing for composition or alignment is to come up here, just like in design, come up to the ruler, left click and hold, and we could bring down guides. Actually, I think I'm going to turn off that grid. I don't really need it, and it just does get a little, there we go, we can see a little clearer now. So here are the guides. So if we want to work on aligning numerous pieces on an artboard or on a presentation board, we have those. And, okay, let's take care of this text that looks a little goofy, kind of chunky and blocky, a little hard to read. That didn't come over as nicely as it might have. So I am going to have to, I believe, highlight this text actually. And when I do, the properties come up over here, and what's going on, why that changed is that it imported for some reason with both a fill and a stroke. So let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Let's take a closer look at this. There, now we can see it clearly. So it is, for some reason, it's green text. I guess perhaps it was green in AutoCAD, but then it comes in with a stroke around it. So the fill is the green and the stroke is the black around it, the outline. So we do not need to have a stroke on this. So I will select that, and then I will hit the None button. And so now we have green, so we'll get rid of the green. Sometimes it puts in a, and then we get hit on the green here, and then we go to black. Better. And just quickly highlight, stroke, none, fill, black. Let's just do that for all of it quickly. Stroke, none. All right, better. Control 0, and let's zoom in here on the left and take a look at this drawing tag as well. There we go. I could double click. Nope, don't want to do that. Let's see, maybe I don't have to highlight it. Yeah, there we go. No need to highlight, just there, that looks better. Good. And one more time up here at the top left, see what happened there. And interestingly, this has the same situation. So these are just basic rectangles, and they've come in with the same. Let's see what happens if we just turn that stroke down. Yeah, a little better. Just turn those off quickly. Let's see if we hold the shift button, we could select numerous at the same time. It makes it a little crisper. Let's see if we could select all of these and do the same. I think we can. Turn off that stroke. Much better. Control 0. Good. Much cleaner, much more crisp. Looks good. Okay, just a couple of I want to talk about the selection tools and just a couple quick key commands that are worth knowing. Just like Photoshop, that's the zooming in and the zooming out, and the kind of the zoom extents. So Control plus brings us in, Control minus takes us out, and Control 0 is the zoom extents. So those three are definitely worth knowing. And then H is for hand, and that is our panning of the whole page. Okay, so you definitely want to commit those to memory and get used to using them. All right, now this one has two selection tools, a basic selection tool, which is V, same with Photoshop, but this also has a direct selection tool, which is a little different. Photoshop does not have one of those. So let's just zoom in a little bit and take a look at what those do for us. So our basic selection tool, and whatever I'm going to command, and that's the, let's see, it tells us, yeah, right there in parentheses, it tells us that the key command is V. So if I'm over here on the gradient tool and I'm doing something, whenever I just want to get out of a tool, I always just go back to there. So just V will get me back there. So our basic selection tool, when I select this guy, let's zoom in so we can really see it here. And it's kind of showing the word path there. So that's the path of the line. When I select that, I get a bounding box kind of showing it. And I have your basic options that we're familiar with probably from InDesign. When I come around the corner nodes, I could increase the size of it. So just like the entire image, the entire drawing, when I brought it in, I can change the proportion of it, which typically I don't want to do. So I just hold shift and that locks in the proportions. And then I let go with the mouse, let go with the shift, and I have that there. And then Control Z is my undo. And then I also have the option here at the node, if I don't get completely on top of it, I could also rotate like such. And then Control Z. All right, so you do have to be careful. Like CAD, you've got a lot of lines here, a lot of different objects. So you have to be careful when you're moving around so you don't accidentally move things. And then I just want to show off the direct selection tool, which I really don't use much, but it's still worth knowing. When I selected here, a little different now, it doesn't have that bounding box. And now I could get to that anchor and I could just move one portion of it. All right, different. And it does have a snap, just like CAD there. So it's right there. It's getting to that end line. Okay, so that's what the direct selection tool, it kind of allows it to be manipulated node by node rather than the entire object. All right, so Control 0, so just a little orientation there that's needed. Okay, now I just want to show you the layers and then we'll print this. So like Photoshop, everything is arranged on layers, and the top layer is on top of the others, basically. That doesn't pertain to this drawing at this point. It will when we get into the next video. We'll start adding some color here, and then we can start layering some different colors or patterns, and then it will matter. But just suffice to say that it works the same way Photoshop does, but not pertinent yet, because right now we just have individual lines that are not on top of each other. Interestingly, you'll notice that the layers came in with the same names that exist in CAD. So here is my A annotation label. So at the top left we see Project North and A anno title block. So at the bottom right we see my name turning on and off. The 0 layer, which I draw on in CAD, but I don't really intend to leave things on, but here I accidentally did, so we could see them there. The north arrow, the graphic scale, and the drawing name at the bottom left. Def points, as I mentioned, is a non-printing layer in CAD, but it will print here. I often create a non-printing layer, just a different one, a no-print layer, but sometimes things get left on def points. This is the box that I created after I created the viewport. I created this box. It kind of functions here as a border, so I'm just going to leave it as is. My dash lines, which you'll notice are not dashed. So these are my door swings, and 1, 2, and 3 are not dashed, so we'll have to take care of that before we print this. And then I have my light lines, medium, and dark. Okay, so and then here are some arrows facing in, and when I open that up, it shows all of my dash lines, and it keeps them as lines or arcs, just like they are in CAD, which is nice. Keeps them identified as such. Here I could come up and I could select my dash lines, and now all of my dash lines have been selected. That's what these blue boxes tell us, and this is the bounding box for all of the dash lines because they all fall within that box. Then let us come up to Window. So this is where we find all our work panels, essentially, and here is Stroke. And when that opens up, we could see that these are identified as dash lines. I'm going to Control plus to come in a little closer. Again, we could really zoom in, but they are definitely not appearing as dashed. So let's select them all one more time. Actually, let's not do that. Let's just select one of them. And so this is how they're coming in. And the dash, so this is the height of the length of the dash and the length of the gap, and it's 0.07 is the dash, and then the gap is 0.03. So my guess is they're just coming in too small, and we have to increase those numbers. So I'm going to select everybody again, and I'm going to jump up to 6 and 2. So I practiced this, so that's why I know that is a decent answer, and now they look better already. So one more time we could select. Now they've all been applied, 6 and 2. And they do look good. They do look good. These look good. You could make an argument that perhaps these need to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hold the Shift button. That's a small run there. So I'm going to keep that as is. Maybe I'll increase these. Let's see what this looks like if we do. Let's see what 8 and 3 looks like. It's slightly bigger than the doors. Let's try one more time. Holding the Shift key, I get them both. Let's see what that looks like if it's a 4. I think that looks good. Control 0. Let's collapse let's just close it. And from this distance, it looks pretty good, I think. I could see these nicely, and yeah, I think it all looks good there. I could collapse that box again. All right, so that's how we get around there, and now let's print this. And that's our basic intro, and then we'll come back with another video, and we will look a little deeper into adding some color to this. So let us go to File, Print, and this looks like it's getting cropped off there. So the media size defined by the driver. So let us change that to, and so the driver is within the computer here, and it's telling it that the document's 11 by 17, but it wants to print it at 8.5 by 11, and that's a problem. So let us not define it by the driver, but instead let's move it to 11 by 17, and voila, it looks a lot better. So let us print and see how that turns out. So to our desktop, a PDF, and save. And yes, we can replace it. That was an earlier try, and now it opens up in Acrobat, and it looks nice. It looks clean and crisp. And again, the big point is that I could blow this up to 24 by 36 board. I could blow it up to a 24 by 36 billboard and put it on the highway, and these lines will stay together. They'll stay clean and crisp. So not at all an image, or not at all an issue like JPEGs. JPEGs will just fall apart when you blow them up too much. Okay, so that is our basic intro to getting CAD into Illustrator and creating a nice, clean, crisp plan, and then we will return with some more detail in our next video. Thank you.